The train channel offers a glimpse into rail projects to keep an eye on in 2024. In North America, South Central America, and Africa over the next 12 months. São Paulo Intercity Rail Brazil. The project involves upgrading the São Paulo Campinas main line for 160 km/h operation and electrifying the line north of Francisco Morato at 3 kV DC. This would enable an intercity service to be introduced between Barra Funda in São Paulo and Campinas, with one intermediate stop in Jundiaí and a regional service between Jundiaí and Campinas, serving 3 new intermediate stations at Luveira, Vinhedo, and Valinhos. A 30-year concession will be awarded to implement the project and operate the new passenger services. The regional service is expected to start in 2029, followed by the intercity service in 2031. Length: 136 km. Cost: $266 billion. Guatemala Railway reopening Guatemala. Work could start this year on the delayed scheme to rebuild Guatemala's defunct 914mm gauge railway as a standard gauge network. The objective is to serve the country's Caribbean and Pacific ports and to connect with the North American rail network via Mexico. New lines will be built to the borders with El Salvador and Honduras. The project is being developed and financed by a private company called Remed. The 800 kilometers project will be implemented in 3 stages. Stage 1 mainly comprises an upgrade of the 235 kilometers, running from Teca-Numan on the Mexican border via Rio Bravo and Santa Maria to Puerto Quetzal. Stage 2 involves upgrading the 317 kilometers section from Puerto Barrios and Santo Tomás de Castilla to Zacapa and Guatemala City, and the 89 kilometers Guatemala City-Santa Maria line. Stage 3 involves construction of a new 91 kilometers line from Obrero to the border with El Salvador. Completion: 2027. Length: 800 kilometers. Cost: $175 billion. Pacific Train Project El Salvador. The Pacific Train Project involves building a new standard gauge line initially to connect the coast with the capital. Design work is already underway on a new line from Acajutla on the coast via Sonsonate and Caserio Sitio del Niño to San Salvador. The project is part of the country's new regional mobility and logistics master plan. The government favors new construction, using the existing railway right-of-way where possible, rather than trying to revive the abandoned 555 km, 914 mm gauge network, which closed in 2022. Information regarding the rest of the 535 km of planned new railway have not been disclosed, although the objective is to connect the new rail network with Guatemala, which is reviving its railway. The master plan commits El Salvador to investing $183 billion in railway infrastructure over the next decade, including a monorail in the greater San Salvador area. Length: 103 kilometers. São Paulo Light Rail Brazil. The city of São Paulo plans to start construction of 2 light rail lines in the city center this year. The REI's $748 million project will be partly funded through the federal government's Growth Acceleration Program. The red line will form a figure of 8, while the blue line will comprise a circle, with the 2 lines intersecting on São João Avenue. The 2 lines will be operated by 5 section LRVs each with capacity for almost 450 passengers. Demand is estimated at 134,000 passengers per day. The LRVs will be powered by a ground power supply system, rather than overhead catenary to reduce the system's environmental impact. Completion: 2027. Length: 12 kilometers. Lobito Corridor Extension, Angola, Zambia. The proposed line runs from Lusaka on the existing Bangalore Railway in Angola to the Jimbe border crossing, a distance of around 260 kilometers, and then for another 500 kilometers in Zambia to Kalimbila and Chingola to connect with the existing network, which runs across the border to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The project presents a transformative opportunity to enhance regional connectivity, unlock the critical minerals supply chain, promote trade, create local jobs, and drive economic growth in Africa. Length 760 km. Ain Sokhna Marsa Matrouh High-Speed Line Egypt. The 675-kilometer Ain Sokhna Marsa Matrouh High-Speed Line will run from Ain Sokhna on the Red Sea to October Gardens, Alexandria, El Alamein and Marsa Matrouh on the Mediterranean, plus a branch from October Gardens to Al Ayat, with 21 stations. Phase 1 will be 460-kilometer long and connect the developing city of El Alamein on the Mediterranean Sea to Ain Sokhna on the Red Sea via the new administrative capital to the east of Cairo, which is under construction with completion set for 2027. Phase 2 will be 200 km long and extend the line from El Alamein to Marsa Matrouh. The line, which will have a design speed of 250 km per hour, will carry freight and passenger services, with express services operating at 200 km per hour, regional trains running at 160 km/h, and freight at 120 km per hour. Once completed, the line is forecast to carry 30 million passengers annually, cutting journey times by 50%. Tanzania Standard Gauge Railway Tanzania. The new 1A435 min gauge railway will run from Dar es Salaam via Morogoro, Dodoma, Tabora, and Lusaka to Mwanza on Lake Victoria. By October 2023, Lots 1 and 2 were 98% and 95% complete respectively, and work on both sections is expected to finish early this year. Completion of Lots 3 and 4 is expected in early 2026, with these sections now 67% and 17% complete respectively. Completion of Plots 1 and 2, 2024. Length 1 and 2 25 km. Cost $10.4 billion. Brightline West HSL United States. Brightline West expects to offer a journey time of 2h10 min, operating trains at 45-minute intervals at a top speed of 290 km per hour on the single-track railway. This is more than twice as fast as the equivalent journey by road. In December 2023, Brightline West secured $3 billion from the federal government to support construction. Completion 2028. Length 357 kilometers. Cost $12.5 billion. High Frequency Rail Canada. The project is aimed at providing an improved railway between Toronto, Peterborough, Ottawa, Montreal, Trois-Rivières, and Quebec City, with trains traveling at up to 200 km per hour on mainly new, electrified and dedicated tracks that extend over 1,000 km. RFP bidders will be required to develop 2 solutions, including proposals enabling passenger trains to operate at up to 200 km per hour. The second solution must include high-speed segments for higher speed,